Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. And today I am joined by, it's getting hard to remember, the 11th runner-up. I've been trying to do that every time. Shai from Survivor UK. Shai, how are we doing today?
I am good, alive and surviving. How about you?
I am doing amazing. Every week I get to talk to you guys, and it's a true blessing. So first off, we always love to start off with this question because it's a great way to look into things. You've had time to kind of take it all in. How was it watching the season back and watching your journey play out on TV?
It was pretty cool. So, given that I'm a super fan, for me, like it was pretty cool to just see everyone else and see what their point of views were, what comments were being made behind people's backs, and I feel like I was way too nice. And if I was doing it again, I would be a little bit more savage, is what I would say.
Oh, the villain arc coming for Shai if he returns.
Yeah, well, I'm already being portrayed as a villain. I might as well become a villain. Is the way I see it. So no, yeah, I feel it's like pretty cool. So obviously, given that I watched this for so long, just the challenges for me were pretty cool to like take part in, and it's like I've obviously seen it across like 20 years, seen loads of legends do the exact same things that I was doing, and it was amazing for me. Obviously, wish I'd gone further. Like a day off merge is pretty gutting, but I think I had a target from on my back from like day 1 to day 18. So surviving 18 days as the number one target was pretty tiring, but it was pretty like cool as well. So
and we're definitely going to get into what made you a target, but I told you get ready for the first question. That wasn't the first question. The first question is, you are up there for, you're a contender for the best dressed on the island this season. Those fits, my dude. Okay, like
that's what I was going for. I'm still waiting for my fashion contract to come through the door, but apart from that,
that's what I was going to ask. Were you prepared when you got the call to go out there? Were you thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to have an iconic look and I'm going to bring some amazing clothes out there? What went into your design options?
I did actually. It was a last minute choice. That green shirt was a last minute choice. But I did like double boxer up. So then I was like, oh, maybe I should do that, and then I can have like one additional item. So I did do that. But no, like obviously, I've always like been like the way I dress has always been like not one of the bottle. It's always been out there. So I was like, there's no point stopping now. And I just went in with stuff which is pretty reasonable as well. Like the orange top, which I went in initially, was more. I kind of knew there was going to be a boat swimming thing, and I didn't want to go in with too much like heavy stuff. So that was like, I don't know what it's like, a special fabric which doesn't like, which dries off quickly and stuff like that. So it was, I had like zipped up pockets which I could, if I had found a hidden immunity idol, I could zip it up and it didn't look like too obvious and stuff like that. So it was practical, but I was also like, I wanted to be me and just stand out.
Did you keep everything or did you throw it away the moment you got back?
I've got it in a big bag here. One sec.
This is what's awesome about these interviews. Look at that. Yes. Still zipped up and everything. That's
a zip bag, so it doesn't stink up my flat. Got
to get that framed and everything. So exactly. Okay, I know everyone is wanting us to get in the games. They're probably all like, Randy, stop talking about clothing, but I had to ask. It's the fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So your elimination, while there's been some eliminations this season, I've been shocked about the way they played out. Yours, I was actually jaw dropped on the floor, flabbergasted at what I just witnessed, to the point where I run our social media page and I always post who gets eliminated. I was already making the thumbnail for Nathan's interview with me today. And that's when the vote started going the other way. And I was just like, are you kidding me right now? I'm sitting there with my phone making his thing. So it was really funny. Obviously not a funny situation for you, but walk us through that vote, because it looked like yourself and Lawrence had Pegleg and Doug in the bag. And I know you can't really speak too much on what went through their minds, but how confident were you heading into that tribal council?
The thing is, like, we literally had saved Pegleg and Doug the time before. So I was like, surely it gave me one vote of backing me up and like having some sort of loyalty, let alone like going on. And I was actually ready to go with those four, like the three of them, to like the top four, and that was my aim. And that was literally why I was like, I kind of felt I was at the bottom of the Calaton OGs, and I was like, I don't want to come like 6th or 7th. Like if I'd taken like Jess, if I'd gone with Jess, Nathan, and Lawrence, I felt like out of the Calaton originals, I probably would have been 6th or 7th, and Lawrence would have been just above me. So I was like, I spoke to Lawrence, and we were having quite like strategic chats. I was like, I'd rather make a move now, which can be like monumental and like solidify us going in. So we did risk everything for Pegleg and Doug. So I did think they'll give me one vote where they won't like kill me off. But I think what I underestimated is that because I kept doing the challenges really well, I think Doug felt like I was a physical threat, like and a different kind to what Nathan is like. And Doug kept beating Nathan in those physical challenges. So in his head, I think his view was that he could outgun Nathan in any of those challenges, but I could swim and I could do like loads of other. My skill set was a little bit more varied. So and especially the fact that I was a super fan and like everyone started like figuring out that I had like watched every season and I knew these hacks to like these challenges. So I think he was like he'd rather take me out now and then back himself to beat Nathan in those physical challenges going forward.
I mean, it's great strategy from Doug, but
Yeah.
I did think you guys could go all the way to the end. We saw this past week, and we saw that relationship between you and Lawrence really come to fruition.
That was like a day one alliance, basically. We had.
That's why I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, it was actually a day one alliance. Like we rocked up, and I just saw Lawrence, and he was hysterical. He was funny, and everyone was like, I knew that his social game was really good because everyone like loved speaking to him, and everyone was listening to him. So I knew like, okay, if I become his number one and he becomes my number one, that's pretty good because he hadn't watched that much Survivor, and I had watched basically all the Survivor there is. So it was kind of complementary, and we could look after each other. And I think, to be fair, that's exactly why I didn't like. I wasn't like everyone is saying Shai, but there wasn't any votes coming my way apart from like I think there was one stray Jess vote from the first tribal, but everything else was Shai versus someone else, but the other person is going. And I'd built those relationships, I think, with Lawrence specifically, like where he was my number one. I to be honest, I told him on the island, like, if I go to the end and I lose to you, I'm more than happy with that because obviously, like, I could feel the actual genuine friendship with him. And yeah, I had like day one, I went in pretty hard. I spoke to Matt, I spoke to Tanuke and Nathan, and in my head, I was like, the five of us can control this tribe to a certain degree. But yeah, obviously, I think there was a lot of different conversations happening behind my back, and the fact that they were feeling a bit threatened by me. Obviously, people were playing up to the fact that, oh, Shai's bossy or Shai's whatever. But it was also because I was a threat. They were like trying to deflect, I felt like.
Well, that's where I was going to next. We keep bringing up the fact that you were a target very early on. Day one, they were talking, if we have to go, you know, Shai might be the way to go.
Yeah.
So what was it? What made you such a big threat from your point of view? Because they were gunning from you, man. Day one, they wanted you.
I know. Like when I went in, because obviously I watched Survivor, I was like, do not be bossy. Go in slow. Do not like lay low, whatever. Like obviously, I think it's obviously I grew up playing sport and I've always been like a leader as such. So I kind of felt like it had to come out at some point. And like day one, what was happening was like we didn't have a shelter. People didn't want to sleep on the floor. No one's taking control. I was like, okay, guys, let's just like start at least like digging holes to plant stumps in, so we can at least put bamboo on top of it and stuff like that. So I think that, and then with that, I had already cut my finger. The medics were like, do not like start digging the sand and stuff because you can get infected. So I couldn't actually dig, but I was still tying knots and like balancing stuff and all of that. So I think it was a very easy out for some people to basically be like, oh, Shai's bossy as such. But I think it was a very poor and lame excuse.
I always say someone's got to build the shelter. Someone has.
And I have no experience, but no one else did as well. But because I've watched so much Survivor, I was like, guys, okay, we need a base. We need to have like some solidified stumps, and then we can at least balance like these bamboo sticks on top of it, right? So I think that was what happened. And then with that, also like the first few challenges, we didn't actually have time to basically like strategize properly. It was just like 30 seconds, you got to decide where everyone's standing. And I was like, obviously I watched Survivor. Lawrence was like, I think it was the second challenge with the weights when we were all holding it down. We had 30 seconds. Lawrence was like, let's go boy, girl, boy, girl. And it kind of made sense because the weights were exactly the same for Nathan and Leilani. So then I went, okay, fine, and we agreed on it with Lawrence, me, Matt, Tanuke, and Nathan. But I think Rachel and Leilani didn't hear that, and then basically they were like 30 seconds, you gotta decide, and I was like, okay, fine. I started placing people, and Leilani's like, I was like to Leilani, let's you go between me and Nathan in case we can help you out, and she's like, no, I don't want to go next to you. I'm not going to drop, and I'm like, I know you don't want to drop, but you got to be realistic, and I think that type of my communication style is direct, but I'm also like, because I had those like challenge hacks in my
That's
head.
the business side of things, I think. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And they obviously like early on, they're looking for anything small to make sure it's not them. So there was quite a lot of deflection happening, I felt like.
Well, you went for the big move, the big gusto move to take out a big player in Nathan there. Do you believe the target on your back, did that add pressure for you to make an early big move in the game, or is that just how the cards fell at the time?
Uh, I think my big first move was to get Jess out, to be honest, because I was like, I didn't want to. Realistically, I could have easily coasted to merge, and it would have been 7 Calatonians. We would have got Doug and Peg out. And my issue is that like Tinuke, Matt, Nathan, and Jess and Alani were all like, and Lawrence as well. We were all close, but like there was a few people who are way higher in the pecking order,
Yep.
and I didn't want to come sixth or seventh, and I felt like if I'd gone in with those guys, there would have been some tension as well. Like Lilani was after me like already and stuff, like from previous examples. So I was like, I'll take Jess out now, and then hopefully have this cross tribe alliance with Lawrence, me, Doug pegged as a four, and then hopefully we can drag Matt or Tinuke in, or Doug can drag in Lee or Chris in or whatever on that side. Because realistically, if the four of us stuck together, we only needed 2 more people out of the like the 11 people, and we already had like so many connections from everywhere. I still backed us to basically like be able to get a majority at merge. So my thinking is like go big or go home. Unfortunately, it was go home, but at least I didn't want to like be coasting. As a super fan, I was like, what I get really frustrated watching stuff at home is like, oh my god, you should at least try and make an effort. Try and make
Preach.
a move. Yeah.
Preach.
So, yeah,
Definitely
that
preach.
was my thinking. Obviously, it didn't pay off because Doug and Peg had different ideas and stuff. But yeah,
Well, I think the relationship that we saw develop between you and Lawrence, that might answer the next question that I had. But you got to go through the Rice, or not, sorry, not the Rice negotiation. I got mixed up. You got to go through the negotiation of who goes over to Lanena and who comes back to Calaton. And it was you, Matthew, and Tanuke.
yeah.
And I was shocked at that moment that you did not jump over because you were such a big target from day one. I thought this was a perfect opportunity for you to go to a new tribe, build new relations.
Yeah.
Was it because Lawrence, your number one, was back on the beach? How did those negotiations break down?
In my head, I was like, I'm sending these two there for sure. Because I basically there was this whole thing about Leilani going over, and I think she had already like painted a really bad image of me. She had vilified me there, and that's why even with this lie and stuff, and even that's exactly why Peg and Doug were like, okay, let's go there and we can take Shai out there. Like somehow I'd become this target with my own tribe
in the entire game. Yeah, you were
exactly,
the biggest.
and the other tribe. So I was like, I knew I couldn't go there because like me and Lee were having these one-on-one battles and stuff like that. So I thought if I went there, they would know I'm a threat and I'm like I'm an easy physical threat to pick off. Matthew and Tinuke had those connections with Lenani, for example. So I was like, I spun it as basically you guys go. It's better for us to meet at like the merge with the 7 of us. But I was like, I'm not going because either way we have a.
It did not look like you were interested to go. That's why
Like,
I had to ask you.
I made a quick decision in my head, being I am not going with this. Like, because I knew Leilani was there, and I knew like we were having conversations between like challenges and stuff, and I could tell like there was like misinformation being spread, living like Shai is like really like loud and like bossy and stuff like. And I was like, obviously my like if you see like none of my tribe mates actually like. I think the edit is a bit weird, but like from my perspective, I didn't feel like I was doing that. And the reason why everyone was listening to me is because of my survival knowledge. And I knew these like challenge hacks, for example, like running around in the water, you don't run down the deep end, you run down the shallow end.
Brilliant, yes.
And then even like the untying of the knots, we sent our best swimmers to go to the furthest box and stuff like that. So I think people from that figured out that I was a super fan, and then obviously that target was getting bigger and bigger because I was performing in certain like physical challenges, and I think that's kind of what swayed Doug's head right at the end, where he was like, he like competing with me as a slightly more all-round person is more difficult in those immunity challenges specifically.
I'll just say the way you looked at Matthew and Tanuki, I can't remember exactly how the look was, but I instantly said, Shai is not leaving that bitch. He is not
Yeah, I
going
was
to
like,
the.
no way. I thought, to be honest, I thought I went thinking it was gonna be some sort of immunity thing, and I was like, I'm definitely like, it doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
5 is. I'm going to basically like, if there's an option for me personally, and like Matthew and Tinuke are not there, I am getting like an immunity idol out of it and coming back. Even because my target's already there, I was like, I'm just gonna go, and that's why I put
Yeah.
myself
You got to
up to
play
go.
big.
Yeah, but I was like, I put myself up to go in the hope of that. Obviously, this type of like tribe swap has not happened in a while. I don't know. I think it's happened once, maybe if I'm not mistaken. In like,
I was thinking it had to be once or twice. I couldn't
yeah,
remember exactly when, but
like
yeah.
where you have to pick 2 out of the 3. I don't think I can't remember that out of my like memory. So when that happened, I was like mind blown, but I was also like, at least I don't have to go across. And I basically spun it as Matthew and Tinuke were pretty tight anyway together. And thankfully I didn't go across because I thought I was like sort of comfy with Matthew and Tinuke, but post all the viewings, I feel like they wouldn't have obviously trusted me, and they would have easily sold me down the river first if I had moved over.
Now, I've been asking this question a lot about the challenges, but I think one thing really cool about Survivor UK as they introduce a lot more people into the world of Survivor
Yeah.
is they are picking some historic challenges to do. And as a Survivor super fan, you had to be geeking out at some of the challenges you got to participate in. So, was there one that really stuck out to you? And then was there one that you never want to do it again because that was just miserable?
Well, the balance one, obviously, I lasted like less
Came at
than
the wrong
30
time.
minutes. The issue is that I with that disc challenge, I had done something to my right shoulder, so I went in
Mm.
being like, okay, let me raise my left arm up, and obviously I don't have balance anyway. Like my balance isn't particularly great, and then with my left arm, I kind of knew I was screwed anyway, and it wasn't like as soon as we walked in, the 5 of us were like, "We're going back to private council." Like, there's no
Yeah.
way, like because like the other side had like all the yoga people, and like
You
we had
called it.
all
You said, "As long as it's not balanced, we're
yeah, I
fine."
know, and that's exact law. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be like, and I was so close to obviously merge. It was like one challenge away from that, and the best challenge I would say, I kind of like the bamboo thing because obviously we were in dire straits. We hadn't eaten for 3 days. Our first meal came across, and then we just lost the reward challenge straight after our first meal on the day 4, I think. And then day 5, our first win as such. It kind of like brought us together. There's quite a lot of like swimming and like rowing,
Mhm.
and Lawrence did like an amazing job like staying calm with those bamboos like falling everywhere. So it was pretty cool.
I was like, "This is so nervous," getting on each other's shoulders to get up,
Yeah,
and yeah, that was fun. That was a unique one to watch. I do have to ask. We saw you made it to day 18, which is incredible. It's almost the entirety of the U.S. game
yeah,
nowadays.
exactly.
But so you were out there for a while, and we got to see you guys get your letters from home. And a lot of you said that was the hardest thing about being out there is it's not the starvation. It's not, you can disagree if you want, but it's not the sleep
I
and
don't
stuff, but
know.
it's missing the loved ones. Walk us through when you got that note. It was from your niece, just the
Yes.
emotions that flowed through you.
I think it's very easy because obviously for me in that moment I had 18 days of like physically there's nothing like when I'm at home I'm like either watching something, I'm always on the go,
Hmm.
or like I'm out or whatever, I'm interacting with my friends, family, whatever. But I think taking a step back, we went into this experience, and it's obviously I think in my head it's like Survivor is huge. I'm like such a big fan that it was all I thought about for 18 days, and then all of a sudden, just a note from home was all that like it took for me to like obviously like not break down, but like, cry or whatever, because
Hmm.
it's just it gives you a reminder what is happening at home, or like so it wasn't the toughest thing for me, but it's just a reminder, and therefore in that whole scenario of like because you're always like for me I was just running scenarios in my head about like if I were here, who's here, where I'm like constantly looking at people as to who's chatting, even if they're down the beach and stuff like that. So it became my like life for like 18 days, and I don't think I actually like even at once like relaxed a bit because I was constantly like running scenarios in my head because I've seen so much that for me I was like I don't want to go off because I haven't like thought about this or I haven't thought about
Hmm.
it, the scenario. So I would say the whole social dynamic was pretty tough for me because I got labeled to be posse at the beginning, and then I think it kept going
Trying to
through.
dig yourself out
Yeah,
of that hole. Yeah.
exactly. And then I think the one time when I finally managed to dig myself out, I got pulled back in because and the door slammed because Doug and Peg basically. I think the moment after the chessboard was the first time I was like, I see a path to the end, and I see like I can get there because I was constantly like surviving, and just before that, like just trying to make sure it's not another tribal council. I felt like I was doing damage limitation, whereas this way I felt like I was on the offense and I could basically like get Nathan out and then go there. We just need to get 2 more people into our like alliance, and then we basically can whittle numbers down and stuff like that. So it was the first time where I was like, okay, I have a path to top 4 and possibly then to like at 5, whatever. We'll see what would happen, but to win the game.
Your entire story arc for the season is just you getting dropped into a hole, spending all season climbing out. You finally make it to the top, and then someone just pushes you back in. Yeah, that's
Doug pulling me down. Doug and Peg pulling me down, slamming the door on me, and then all sailing behind.
It was tough from the get-go. I just have you for a few more seconds here, Shai, but we always have to ask this question. You're such a big fan. I am so happy you got to go out there and live that dream of being on Survivor. And everyone knows Survivor as such an incredible experience. It's more than the money is how I look at it. Exactly. You get friends for a lifetime. You get to push yourself to limits you never thought possible. What are you personally going to take away from this experience? And the second part of the question that we always ask, I already know the answer to. Would you play again?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm packed and ready. I'll take that bag and go again. I'm ready. I am ready to go. I firmly believe that this won't be the end of my Survivor experience. I feel like if they're gonna give me a villain edit, they better be calling me back.
Yeah, heroes versus villain. Yeah.
Exactly. And I will become a proper villain. I'm not gonna play this like light villain version. And what was the other question? Sorry.
What are you gonna take away from this experience as a whole?
Like I will take away that I'm pretty mentally strong given all that was happening to me, and every time like everything was going against me, but I was still like plowing through it. And also I felt like I was too nice. Like in hindsight, I should have just basically like I should have been like being snaky and being slagging people off in the camera sessions, like the confessionals. But I was always like polite, and I was like, oh, I don't want to say anything too bad. Like in my head, like I was like, I would come back to the real world, and then people are gonna think I'm like a twat basically. So I was just like being too nice. If I did again, I would definitely be a little bit more savage and brutal and speak my mind. Not in the tribe situation, but in my confession, like I will.
You have to. They have to have you back because you even have a nickname now. One Try Shai.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But Shai,
it's not one try Shy in Survivor, but it'll be 2 try Shy and 1 time winner.
Love it. Shai, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come chat with me. Because you're such a big super fan, we got to get you on sometime to talk Survivor Australia, Survivor US, or maybe next season Survivor UK. We got to bring you on as an analyst.
Get me back in. I'll be there.
All right. Have a good one, man.